حبيبنا محمد وعلى الإمامان البخاري ومسلم كل في صحيحه عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. The hadith tonight, collection of both Bukhari and Muslim, narrated to us by Abu Hurairah. The theme is still holding fast to the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the teaching of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Probably go on with this for a few more nights and share with you a few more hadith. This one here is a very there's a lot that was taken from this hadith, I can put it that way. I mean, this is a hadith that is cited or quoted a lot in the books of usul, meaning the books that talk about how you're supposed to deal with the legacy of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. And it's a very important one to understand. I'm going to narrate to you, and I'm going to give you try within maybe a minute or so, try to explain what it was saying. But this is what he says alayhi salatu wasalam. دعوني ما تركتكم فإنما هلك من كان قبلكم بسؤالهم واختلافهم على أنبيائهم فما نهيتكم عنه فانتهوا وما أمرتكم به من أمر فأتوا منه ما استطعتم. It's a very important hadith. He said عليه الصلاة والسلام, leave me, دعوني, leave me, ما تركتكم, for whatever I left you. Like if anything I didn't talk about, I didn't address specifically, leave it. I left it, so you leave it. دعوني, don't come to me about issues that I saw or are available, are there, or that I could have addressed but I didn't. I could have talked about but I chose not to. A detail or a scenario that I could have brought up but I didn't, leave it. هلك من كان قبلكم. The people, all the nations before you, their halak, meaning their loss, their demise, happened because they over-asked and over-analyzed during the lives of their prophets. Meaning they would go after every detail. Meaning Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He knows all, Jalla Jalaluhu. If He wants to address if He wants to address an issue, He doesn't need to be reminded, subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is being taught by Jibreel. If He wants to address something, He'll address it. You don't have to come and remind Him to address it. That's why this hadith here is not, you can't extrapolate it. You can't go ahead and say, well, we shouldn't ask our the imams or the, no, you should. فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. And there's other examples, obviously, in the Quran and the Sunnah. But for the Prophet ﷺ specifically, specifically, he would say, don't come and ask me things I talk about, because I am leaving it open on purpose. It's purposeful. This is on purpose. This is by design. It's by design He's going to leave these things. Why? Because the way Islam works, Islam is a law that has a methodology of how to process evidence within it. And if the Prophet ﷺ offers an answer for every single detail, then that answer is going to be taken by those who come later, in terms of who are going to process evidence, and they're going to treat it as a level B or level C evidence, and that's going to turn into an obligatory or forbidden action within Islam that's going to make the lives of people much more difficult. So he chose not to talk about things, alayhi salatu wasalam, so that wouldn't happen. And there's a lot of examples of he would go out and pray Taraweeh in Ramadan, first night, second night, third night, fourth night, and then stop doing it. He was asked why. فَقَالَ عَلَيْهِ الصَّلَاةُ وَالسَّلَامُ خَشِيتُ أَن تُفْرَضَ عَلَيْكُمْ. I fear that it becomes fard. What? He fears that God is going to turn it into a... No, Jalla Jalalullah, He didn't make it fard, but He fears that the way what He's doing is going to be interpreted later by scholars, and it's going to be turned into something that's obligatory when it's not. So the Prophet ﷺ, interestingly enough, such to understand, wasn't thinking about what people were going to be doing right after he passed away. He was thinking about us 1400 years later. How are they going to be? Because they're going to look at the Quran and my life, and they're going to take that, and because inshallah there are people who have learned to process evidence, they're going to process the evidence, and if I do things in a certain way, or if I say certain things in a certain manner, then they're going to have to process that evidence in a form that makes something obligatory when it's not, or forbidden when it's not. So he would say, فَمَا نَهيتكم عَنْهُ فَأَنْتُوا. When I tell you not to do not do it. See, that's where things are dangerous. The forbidden, the red lines, where He said don't, that's it, don't. Just very clearly, just stick to what He told us not to do, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. وَمَا أَمرتكم, being what I tell you to do, فَأْتُوا مِنْهُ مَا استطعتم. Do the best you can. Do the best you can. So they did. And because they did, today we have this very rich tradition. We have a rich law. that has so much in it. There's so many different ways to interpret it, and there's so many different ways to assign it, and that what allows that yusr and that rahmah in our deen, so that there's different ways to look at one specific event and process the evidence regarding it in different ways, allowing people to practice it in different ways as well, which suits the diversity of the human race altogether. This is something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala designed Islam to be. This wasn't by mistake. This wasn't something that was missing. It wasn't like, we should have received the Prophet ﷺ's life and a more. No, the way you received it is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted you to receive it. And it's by design that there are going to be certain things that are weak and some of them that are reasonably authentic and some of them are very highly authentic. Then you have the Quran, which is a whole different level of authenticity. He's by design. Some words can be understood this way or that way, and some actions understood this way or that way. That's by design. That's not a problem within the transmission. That's how it was supposed to be, so that we have this diversity within our deen. And that's, I think, a beautiful thing. And that only makes us hold on to that book more. Because the fundamentals, we don't argue those. The ones that are very clear principles, no one disagrees. Abu Hanifa and Malik and Shafi'i and Ahmad, they don't disagree on the fact that we have to be honest and trustworthy and ghudd al-basar and stay away from fahisha and not perform shirk and not to betray people and not to abuse others. They don't disagree. There's no khilaf. There's no khilaf there. Huh? We waste time talking about how about we talk about stuff there's no khilaf in. There's no khilaf in any of this stuff. There's no difference of opinion whatsoever when it comes to how we're supposed to be treating one another and how we're supposed to be prioritizing the best interest of our ummah and educating ourselves. How about we stick just for the next 10 years? Just humor me. Just for 10 years, we just stick to the stuff there's no khilaf around. And just do that for 10 years. And then after that, we can come and start talking about the stuff that have difference in opinion. But it's very weird that an ummah has somehow forgotten the principles, the values, the fundamentals, the ethics, that there's no difference of opinion upon any Muslim scholar, wallahi, even outside of Ahl-Sunnah wal Jama'ah, there's no difference of opinion on a number of things. But we don't, that's not working, but we're going to talk about all the stuff that have like at least 5 different ways of interpreting them. And then we fight about them because you interpret it that way and I interpret it this way. And لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. يروي الإمامان البخاري ومسلم كل في صحيحه عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه قال النبي صلى الله عليه وآله وصحبه وسلم دعوني ما تركتكم فإنما هلك من كان قبلكم بسؤالهم واختلافهم على أنبيائهم فما نهيتكم عنه فانتهوا وما أمرتكم به من أمر فأتوا منه ما استطعتم. صدق رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وصحبه وسلم. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. جزاكم الله خيرا بارك الله فيكم. إن شاء الله we pray Sunnah and we have the tafsir, English tafsir halaqa right after